All right. Well, welcome everybody to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group for Friday, October 18th. I'm really happy to have you here today. And today our presenter is Clayton Stockdall, who will be talking about making a career pivot. Just to give you a little bit of background on Jeff Morris, he has facilitated and led the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group since 2007. In 2008, he created careerdfw.org. And then when he went to Washington, D.C. for a conference, he saw the greater need to help job seekers nationwide. And so in 2012, he launched careerusa.org. He wrote the book, What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. And if you run into him, he'll always have some copies on him, but you can always buy it at Amazon. Since 2017, he's been a member of the PIT crew. So definitely keep Jeff in your thoughts and prayers as he continues to recover. As for me, I am your interim leader for today. I am also a job seeker. I'm looking for account management roles in a marketing research company. So happy to connect with you as well. So today for our agenda, we'll start off with success stories, go to job leads, 30-second introductions, committee reports, and then we'll have the main event with Clayton. So first off, do we have any success stories, any landings here in the group? I'm hearing silence. I think that's
Yeah,
a
I think
no.
Pin is trying to say something, but he's muted.
Oh, if somebody wants to unmute and let us know your success story. No? All right. Well, if you think of it later, let us know. For any job leads, do we have any job leads for today? I think not. I don't know if we have any recruiters on the call right now. Okay. All right, we'll go on to the next one. All right, so we'll have introductions in the Zoom chat box. Please put in the name, the position that you're looking for, your email and LinkedIn optional, phone, city, and 2 or 3 target companies. And I will play the music for you to do that. So please enter it in the chat now. All right, that was the Jeopardy music. I hope everybody was entering their information in the chat. So please go ahead and do that. All right. So now, excuse me, now we'll get into introductions. You'll want to do first, my name is, then what you're looking for, unique contacts at, and you need have contacts at whichever company, and then my name is. So with that, let's start with Jeff Gill.
My name is Jeff Will, and I'm looking for a supply chain job, a buyer planner job for a small to medium-sized manufacturer, working in either prototyping, working with engineers to find prototype or production parts. And I don't have any target companies. I'm still trying to. I'm fighting health issues, and. And again, my name is Jeff Will.
Right, thank you, Jeff. Steve Rowan.
Hi, my name is Steve Rowan. I'm a retired .NET developer, and I'm looking for pointers to Fiserv or GM Financial. My name is Steve Rowan.
Okay, then we'll go to, I think it's Mark.
Yeah, morning, everyone. Mark Tegmeyer, Finance Manager and Veteran. I am actually in the interview process with a company called Coremark. So if anybody had contacts with them, that would be fantastic. I appreciate it. My name is Mark Tegmeyer.
Great, thanks, Mark. Rick Harrington.
Hello, my name is Rick Harrington. I'm looking for a mathematician/analyst position. I'm looking for contacts at the June Shelton School. Again, my name is Rick Harrington.
All right, let's go to Jason Morgan.
Hi, my name is Jason Morgan. I'm looking for a product owner position. Need contacts at Brinker International or Citigroup. I have contacts at Motorola Solutions. Worked there the last almost 10 years, and my name is Jason Morgan.
Okay, Penn Hoyt.
Good morning. This is Penn Hoyt. I'm a director of marketing in the B2B world. Looking for connections at Time Manufacturer and CyberOne Security. I'm in the interview process with Time Manufacturing right now. Had the first one, so fingers crossed I get the second. I have contacts all over in telecom, specifically with T-Mobile and with Verizon. And again, my name is Penn Hoyt.
Great, thank you. Mike Beltil.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Belzil. So I'm looking for a Senior Director VP of Product Management, especially in data analytics and retail and consumer goods, or my industry verticals. I'm looking for contacts at Frito-Lay, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and 7-Eleven. I have contacts at Walmart and Epsilon and some other service providers. My name is Mike Belzil.
All right, thank you. Kim Montage.
Yes. I don't know if you can see me. Is my video on?
It
Yes,
was
it
on.
is.
Yes.
Okay, anyway, I'll just go ahead. My name is Kim Montaigne. I'm looking for program manager, project manager type roles. A target company would be Blue Cross, Blue Shield, or insurance. I'm trying for some of those. I have contacts at Ericsson. Again, my name is Kim Montaigne.
Thank you. Andrea Binns. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi. Hi, my name is Andrea Benz, and I am a long-term stay-at-home mom looking to do a career pivot back into the workforce. So that's the reason why I was invited onto this networking group by Matt Keelan, and he thought that it would do me some good just to sit in and observe and see how things work and hopefully make some contacts that way.
Great. Thank you. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank
Clint
you.
Bailey.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Clint Bailey. I'm looking for positions in senior IT leadership. I have been a senior project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, product manager, all of those things for the past 15 years, and looking to pivot up into the strategic management level. I don't need any contacts at this point, but I do have contacts at Microsoft, Gartner, let's see, Google, all of the big tech groups. And my name is Clint Bailey.
Thank you. Peter Watson.
Good morning, everybody. This is Peter Watson. I'm an internationally and multiculturally experienced project and services delivery manager. I'm looking for remote or Plano and surrounding cities jobs. No specific contacts wanted right at the moment. I do have contacts at Tempest Telecom, Ericsson, and Verizon. And my name is Peter Watson.
Great. Thank you, Peter. William McLaughlin.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is William McLaughlin, currently seeking a data analyst role. I'm looking for contacts at the Container Store and CoreLogic. Again, my name is William McLaughlin.
Okay, great. Thank you. Rosina.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosina Gallman, and I am your Career Tip of the Week host. I am looking for a senior talent acquisition consultant or senior recruiter position. And this week, my requests or needs for contacts at Goldman Sachs, Deloitte, Delta Dental, Unum Dental, and Walmart, either the corporate office or the Texas home office. Again, my name is Rosina Gallman, Senior Talent Acquisition Consultant.
And Brian Jerome.
Good morning. My name is Brian Jerome, supply chain specialist, scheduling, planning, inventory control, controlling every aspect of the supply chain from beginning to end. My name is Brian Jerome. I'm looking for a contact at PACCAR. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that I missed? Besides myself, which I will. I am Patty Bashy. I'm looking for account director, senior customer success manager, working at a marketing research firm. I need contacts at Ipsos, Mintel, Sago, and Mark Research. I have contacts at Nielsen. My name is Patty Bashy. All right. All right. It's now time for the career tip of the week by Rosina. You can check out the career tip on careerdfw.org or careerusa.org for a new career tip each week. Okay, Rosina, I'll turn it over to you.
Rosina, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I don't even know how that happened. You know, technology. Bear with me just a second. Let me get back to my page because it just totally cut me off. Okay, so as I was saying, this week's career tip of the week is brought to us by AARP. So it's, and the title is Strategies for a Successful Job Search, and it's a toolkit. So whether you're just beginning to look for a new job or thinking about a career move, the Strategies for a Successful Job Search toolkit by AARP has top tips and techniques to guide you on your personal pursuit. This 52-page toolkit is a compilation of job search tips, techniques, templates, and samples to help you move forward in reaching the goal of landing your next career opportunity. Now, of course, due to time constraints during these sessions, there are many details that are covered throughout the toolkit. So I encourage you to read each section carefully and use the logs and the templates provided to create your customized job search materials. Now, some of the key topics in this toolkit include 1, 10 tips for good job hunting. 2, craft your personal brand. 3, examples of elevator speeches. 4, get the most out of job boards. 5, build your networking strategy. 6, total networking on social media. 7, track your networking activity and progress. 8, the AARP resume kit. 9, write a cover letter that gets read. 10, job application log. 11, there's a case study under using the name Linda Jones, and it's a completed sample of everything needed to create the marketing materials for Linda Jones, such as skills inventory, which is then used to create a resume, which is then used to create a cover letter, and a complete job application to be tracked in an application log. All of these completed documents are samples to demonstrate what type of information goes into each of the documents and where. Number 12, the art of the interview. 13, working from home and for yourself. 14, reskilling and upskilling. And then 15, national resources. There's additional online resources and articles from AARP on a national basis. So whether you're just getting started or looking to expand your job search, AARP is here to help. So are we at Career DFW. For more career resources and articles, check out aarp.org/work. And then make sure you use the AARP job board. It's a job board as an additional resource to use to search for career opportunities and apply. Because they're apparently working with multiple companies, just like other job boards, where positions are being posted for AARP. I'm not going to say all just for AARP members, but on the AARP job board. So I hope you enjoy this week's tip, guide, and job search toolkit called Strategies for a Successful Job Search, again presented by AARP. Remember to add your email address into the chat to receive this toolkit and other materials and handouts from today's session. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Rosina. Appreciate that. And hopefully everybody will check out this tip of the week on the website. All right, so I will talk a little bit about Walt. He is an interview success coach, and he does help you with selling I am, I do, I help. He has his free interview success workshop, Learning Without Squirming, and you can always send him an email at his email address listed below. Also, just a little bit more about the interview success workshop. You can scan this QR code to get more information. And again, he offers this for you. So you can fill in this requested information and you can request scheduling this interview success workshop with him. So hopefully you can do that, and that'll help you with your interviewing skills. We would be remiss without having poetry with Walt Glass. As he's not here today, I will read a poem that Walt wrote for us for today. Okay, if we want to win the interview, we know it is practice we should do. We can get the job of our dreams and then enjoy those Krispy Kremes. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed that poem. All right, so to talk a little bit about the practice interview team, it is in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month at the Christ United Methodist Church in Plano. It is online on the fourth Wednesdays of the month via Zoom, so hopefully you can join one of those sessions if you're outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Also, today there is no scheduled lunch for today since we're Zoom on online only today. And now, before I turn it over to Clayton, I'll read you a little bit about his background and his work. He serves as the Chief Operations Officer at DFW Movers and Erectors, Inc., with headquarters based in Fort Worth, Texas. Clayton serves on the board of the FEI Fort Worth chapter. His board role is to assist accounting and finance executives who are in career transition. Similarly, Clayton is the director of Fort Worth Career Search Network, a faith-based nonprofit focused on assisting individuals in career transition. He volunteers at the Women's Center of Tarrant County in its Employment Services program. He gives back to the community as a special speaker at a local elementary school, of which 86% of students are economically disadvantaged. So let's give a warm welcome to Clayton.
Well, thank you and for inviting me. And let me go ahead and let's see, let me share my screen and we'll get things going here. And we'll have to do a couple new shares just to make sure everything functions.
Looks
all right.
good.
So everyone can see my screen, I hope. But anyway, yeah, so thank you, Patty, for the introduction. And it's a pleasure to speak to the Plano North Dallas networking group. I've spoken here a couple of times over the years. And so today, yeah, we are talking about the topic of making a career pivot. Now, as we go through this, you may think I'm trying to talk you out of making a career pivot, but I'm actually not. But I do need to set the expectations. on a career pivot and the process and how to master the process. It is called a career pivot. It's not a career jump. We'll talk a little bit about that a little more later in our presentation today. So as we move forward, there can be questions like, okay, when is it time to make a career pivot? Well, if you're like the guy there in the picture, it's probably time, from a humorous standpoint. But, when you really look at it, one is, where and this is where you may be forced to, is that your occupation or industry is going the way of the dinosaur. People that were in print industry, I can remember about 7 years ago at Fort Worth Research Network, we had, I don't know, 15 people from the Star Telegram, and they knew their jobs were not coming back. Retail in the way of, after COVID, a lot of things have changed there. So there are some occupations that people, they know when their job ends, they're not going to be able to find another one in that industry or that career field. And so that can be a reason why you have to look at a career pivot. Another, you dread going to bed because you know where you're going to go the next day. And that's not nothing that you look forward to. Another is that your health starts suffering because you're really unhappy in life, and so you start engaging in unhealthy behaviors. You become a complainer. You're unhappy, don't like what you're doing, and big birthdays depress you. I thought I'd be farther along in life, or I thought I'd be enjoying my life better, or whatever the case might be. Or your friends' accomplishments depress you. They're farther along than I am, and which that's not really a good way to look at life, is to compare yourself to other people, but that sometimes happens. And then you feel like you've reached the pinnacle of your career. There's no place else you can go, either at your company, you're in your industry, and so you become bored and restless. Another one is that you have extra money in the bank. We'll talk more about that and the reason why that's important. And that you have a strong support system. Okay. What I will tell you is that if your family and people and know you really well don't support you in you trying to make a career pivot, it's almost impossible, because if you can't convince your own family that this is a good idea, how are you going to convince people that don't know you? And so that's very important. And then you're ready to tackle the next big challenge. And so those are 10 items, just, that maybe it's time to look at a career pivot. But as we look at making a career pivot, there are 5 things that you need to pull it off successfully. The first is resilience. Okay. And the deal is that oftentimes it's not easy to start over in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. You will get knocked down a lot, and you may find it tough going. So you do have to grow a thick skin and stick to your guns and ignore the naysayers. You're going to have a lot of people saying, well, why are you doing this? And, and so you've got you make sure that you are going after something that is attainable, but even that you're going to have people that, once again, are not going to be in your corner. And so you have to be able to withstand that. The other is that you need an open mind. Now, you do want to plan, you do want to analyze, options that are realistic for you. But oftentimes your what's next will come out of nowhere, and something that you may not even been looking for. It could be like a chance, tweet that you see, or something on Facebook or something. So what it is although I do encourage you to to do your research and really analyze what opportunities are going to be good for you as far as to making a pivot is be curious. You know, if an opportunity or something comes to you that you really haven't considered, give it a look-see and see where the water flows. The other thing that you need is you need an entrepreneurial mindset. When you stumble across these opportunities that you hadn't thought of, you know, it's taking advantage of those. And it may be that it turns out it's not the right thing for you, but you're learning stuff. And those are things that you can add to your repertoire of skills and knowledge and experience. And the other thing that you need is a spirit of adventure, because you're going after things you've not done before. And so you do need to enjoy the day-to-day. You need to make sure that you enjoy the ride, because it will be somewhat of a ride, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then you just need fuel. So in a post pivot world, a working life, where success is more about agility rather than having a plan, you need to know what drives you. You need to know what makes you tick, and you need to use that as a compass to navigate you. If you jump into this and you really don't know yourself, then it's going to be far more of a challenge. And you're going to need that fuel to keep you going on days when it would be easy to give up. So there are some ways to prepare. If you're considering saying, hey, I think maybe I do need to look into making a career pivot, pivoting away from something that I've done. Well, one thing that you need to have and to prepare is you need to save money. All right. So if you're still working, but you know your job is coming to an end, start stashing money away. Okay. If you've already lost your job, then you really need to consider how you can reduce your expenses. Because oftentimes a career pivot will take longer to accomplish than if you just chased after a career, a position in the career field where you have experience. And the reason for that is that when you're making a career pivot, you are, at least part of what you're doing is something new. And you're going to be going up against people who've done that their entire life. And so it usually will take more time than finding a job in your current field. So you need to be able to have that money that you can draw upon in case it does take longer. So find ways to minimize expenses, whether it's increasing your automobile insurance deductible, to lower the premium. Hey, maybe I don't need that streaming service, or I can reduce it, or whatever the case may be. Look at your bills and see if there's ways that you can reduce those. And 2 is do your research. What you need to do is reach outside your world of work that and find out, okay, what more do I need to know? What's available, what positions are realistically available for you, and then figure out how you're going to get there. Right? And you need to be very clear. Being clear is key to making your career pivot successful. You may feel 100% capable that you can pull off a career pivot. Hey, I've been an underwater basket weaver, but I know I can be a neurosurgeon. Okay. You may believe it 100%, but that's not going to get you anything. What you have to do is that the people who you're listening to you have to believe that you can do it 100%. And so you have to be very clear on how once the skills that are required for the career field that you're thinking about moving into and what it entails and how you're going to be able to communicate that you can do that successfully to your listeners. One, you need to, and then the other is you need to gather your team. So what I can tell you is that career change is not easy because you're going to be breaking away from what you're familiar with. That probably if you've been in your career for any length of time, you probably can do it with your eyes closed. And so you're going to be breaking away from that. So there's probably going to be some things you're going to have to unlearn. There's probably, you're going to have to rebuild. Definitely going to have to put yourself up for critique. And it may tear away at your self-worth because you're going to have naysayers. You're going to have people say, and people who think you say, okay, I can convince this person that I can do this, and they're going to flat turn you down. And won't even give you the time of day. So you have to be prepared for that. And that's why you need to have a strong support system. Those people who believe in you and believe in your journey and your desired goal and will support you on those days when you just want to throw up your hands and quit. Because once again, oftentimes a career pivot takes longer than just finding a job in your existing field. And so you need people that are going to be able to stand by you and encourage you on those days when you would just rather give up. And so that kind of ties in that you need to find your grounding points. So, once again, it's called a career pivot, not a career jump. Normally, to make a career pivot successful is you're going to keep one foot in what you know, and the other foot's going into something that you've not done before. Going from, as an example used for an underwater basket weaver to a neurosurgeon, that's probably not going to happen. Okay. So it's highly unlikely you can go from doing one thing and then pivot into something that you have no experience in. Okay. So for career pivots to have the greatest chance of success, once again, is that you keep one foot in what you know, something about it. It could be tied to your skill set, your makeup as a person, your talents, or something, and then you're pivoting your other foot into a new space. And so what you need to do is you need to decide, what has really been your solid grounding points throughout your career that's been consistent with whatever you've done. Like in my case, I've done a lot of different things. But there's been key things that have followed me throughout my career. One is I'm a constant learner. I'm always learning. I love to learn. And two, with that, I have a proven track record of stepping into situations where I have no experience and being successful. And that's because I provide the strategy and I have people with the technical skills around me to handle that. And I just provide the guidance and direction. So once again, it's looking at yourself and say, okay, what are my strengths? What are my talents? What has been a constant throughout my career? And that's where you want to keep one of your feet in that. And that's going to help you improve your chances of success. And so you want to write these down, and particularly any examples like accomplishments or things like that relate to that, then you want to write those down. And those are going to be some of your success stories as you go about your career pivot. So there are some things that you need to ask yourself. And so one is, what do I know? Okay. What are your core sources of knowledge? Okay. So basically, where's your largest body of knowledge? and understand. And then the second question you want to ask yourself is what skills do I have? So make an inventory of your skills. Everything from software to maybe your ability to work with people, to whatever, I'm a really good project manager, even though I may not be a project manager. I've really done a great job of managing projects throughout my career, whatever. Make a list of your skills. And then what you want to do as you're evaluating these career pivot opportunities is, what do I need for the next step? So looking at your core sources of knowledge, looking at your skills, and then looking at these other opportunities, where are the gaps? Where is it that, okay, if I chase this career opportunity, what additional information do I need to learn? Or what skills do I need to develop? So that is critically important. So compare your knowledge base, your skills inventory, to the other career opportunities that you're considering. And then, which careers look to be the best match to your knowledge and skills. What are the gaps? And then, of course, if there are gaps, then how are you going to close that? Is that going to be through certifications, going back to school? And I apologize, there's a passenger train going by my office. I don't know if you hear the train horn in the background or not, but sometimes it gets a little loud here. But that's how you need to be able to plan those gaps. And another thing too is, and I would say, and I've been in job search myself, so I don't say you can say that being in job search is a blessing, but being in job search, it does give you the opportunity to sit back and say, okay, what do I really want out of life? Okay. Because oftentimes, if we're in a job, we will continue in that job, even if we don't enjoy it, because there's a paycheck tied to it. But now our job is ended. We have a chance to really sit back and say, okay, what do I really want in life? And this is real important too. And it's not just a career pivot, but it's especially important when you're trying to make a career pivot, is identify what are those things in your work life that you want to have. And so you make a list. So one is establish criteria. What are the different things you want, like work-life balance, or the ability to advance in your career, or I want to be close to home, or whatever. Is make a list of the criteria and then rank them in order of importance. Because for you, work-life balance may be more important than salary, or vice versa. So make a list of criteria and then rank them in order of importance, and then look at the different jobs or careers, the pros, and see how they match up with the criteria that you've set up. So, evaluate those alternatives against your criteria. You want to subjectively quantify the performance, because once again, you may give greater weight to, maybe it's like, I only want remote work. So that's going to be give a much higher weighting than even salary would go, or that type of thing. So subjectively quantify the performance, and then you interpret the results. So myself, I am a very analytical person. So me and Excel, we get along great together. I can slice and dice with the best of them. But so I created a spreadsheet, and this will be one of the things that'll be shared. But this is where, so over on the left, I have, in my case, 7 different criteria for what I want in a position, but then I have it ranked. So job satisfaction for me is number 1. That's more important to me than salary, job life balance. That's what I want to be satisfied with what I'm doing. Okay. So you list out your criteria, and then you rank them. And then, like what I have 3 different opportunities A, B, and C. And what we see, although the score isn't terribly different, you will see that on a raw score, Alternative A is ranked better than alternative C, but when it's based upon how you've weighted the criteria, opportunity C's actually comes out better than opportunity A. So it's basically, it's giving you an objective way of looking at different opportunities and which ones are really going to be the best fit for you on what you want out of life. Because what I can tell, I mean, how many of you is that you're really good at giving advice to other people? Okay. Most of us are. All right. However, when it comes to job search, it's really hard, and for us to even live by our own advice, and that's because of the what I call the emotional fog. Um, our emotions play with us, and they kind it gives us a foggy brain where we really can't see clearly. And this is too where I think it's important to get input from people that know you close, maybe not necessarily family members, but people that know you from a professional standpoint, to give you feedback on whether they think, the career pivot you're pursuing is a valid one or not. Because, we're in this fog and we can't see the forest for the trees, but other people outside looking in can. And so this is the kind of an objective way of trying to help clear the fog so that you're pursuing something that's really the best match for you that there can possibly be. Any questions on that?
So for your weighted score, can you show your calculation for that again?
It's actually in the spreadsheet. I don't have it on the screen,
Okay.
but in the spreadsheet that I sent over to be distributed, it's in there.
Okay, I just uploaded that into the
It's
chat for
reversed, yeah, so
everybody.
it's reverse, it's the way, so it takes the ranking and reverses it in the background, because obviously if something is multiplied by 1, it's going to have a lower score than something multiplied by 7. So it reverses all that in the background and everything like that. So you don't have to be an Excel wizard to use it. So that's done for you. So
Okay.
Kimberly, you have a question?
Kimberly,
Somebody has their hand raised?
think she took down her hand.
Okay.
Any other questions from anybody about this or anything that Clayton has talked about so far? I think Clayton, the one thing I wanted to clarify, when we talk about a pivot, you say you have one foot in what you know and another one pivoting into another area. So basically you could think of it like adjacencies, something that you're maybe close to versus, as you said, not going from underwater basket weaver to neurosurgeon, right?
Right. And to give you an example, so when I was in job search a few years back, I was pursuing an operations management role, but my senior pastor came to me and says, Clayton, I'd like you to consider being an executive pastor. Okay. And you go, wow, that's kind of weird, but actually for me, it's not. So I wouldn't have been an executive pastor at the church I attended because we already had one. But that was not really a stretch for me because my undergrad work is in ministry. And then I have an MBA. I've been the chairman of the board of our church. I've been on the board for a couple of times, and so in reality, I technically had the experience for that. So as I was in job search, I pursued that as a potential opportunity. So what I did is I did informational interviews with other executive pastors or church administrators in the area to understand their role and see, is this something that I really wanted to chase? So it can be stuff like that, where you've got experience that is real transferable into another career field or industry. And that's where I think we really have to value, because a lot of people say, well, I have transferable skills. Okay. Well, other people have to believe that you've got transferable skills. Okay. And so that's what you've got to do. And I think that's where getting input from other people is helpful in making sure that those skills that you think are transferable really are transferable. So that's going to be important.
And as far as talking to other people about that, would you suggest like other people you used to work with, your friends, versus maybe your family members who might be a bit more biased? Or
Right. I would, yeah, because you have some family members, so they're going to tell you you'll do great. It doesn't matter what you do. Okay. So you need people who are going to be honest with you. So what I would say is you want people that you know you can trust, and two, that people are that will real with you. Okay. So usually I would say if you've got really close friends, that would be, it could be business associations, but really you want it to be people that know you, and have known you for a while. And so I'd say those are the people that you want to have in your back pocket. But as I'll talk about a little bit, they'll be part of your posse as you pursue a career pivot. Is you want them to basically have your back as you go through this process, and that they believe in you, that you can pull this off. So yeah, you don't want yes people giving you feedback. Okay, that's not going to be helpful. You need people who are going to be honest, not necessarily brutal, but be honest with you on whether they see that, yeah, I can see you doing that, or hey, Clayton, no, that I don't see that happening, So
okay, thank you for clarifying.
okay. Well, let's talk about the 8 steps to make a successful pivot. Okay. So first off, we start with the why. All right. And so you have to get clear on that before you move forward, because this is what's going to help you drive you to success. Is you got to think about the question is, why are you wanting to do this? Why are you wanting to make a career pivot? Okay. Now, if your industry or career field is coming to an end, well, yeah, well, I don't have a choice. I've got to. But some people, maybe I'm just unhappy in life, and so I just want to try something different. Well, that's probably not going to get you very far, because if you're an unhappy person, you're going to be unhappy doing something else. So you got to deal with that first. So it's figuring out, okay, why do I really want to make this career pivot? And why do I think this new career is going to make my life better? And then you also have to look at what might the downside look like. What are the risks if I do chase this, and even if I'm successful, what are the risks? So that falls in is that then you need to get clear on the what. So make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into. And a lot of things they look from a distant view, they look really great, man. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, and we get over there and we find it's astroturf. So it's making sure you understand what you're getting yourself into, understanding the role you're going to have, and be realistic about what it's going to entail. Are you going to be able to leverage your skills, your business network, your contacts? Are you going to be able to leverage the professional brand that you've built over the years to make a successful transition? Once again, you're better off in pivoting into roles that will leverage your career capital, that will leverage your experience that you've already built, and you're able then to draw upon those years of expertise in a new way, and maybe a creative way. And then 2 is take advantage of personality, occupational, and skill assessments. So that is another document that I think that I sent across. There are a number of free assessments, both occupational and personality assessments, that you can do online. They were free, and I believe you have that, Patty. I think it's one of the ones I sent over.
Yep.
But pardon?
I said, yes, I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
look it up
So
here.
there you can, once again, the last time I looked at them, they were still available. So those might be helpful to do that. In fact, what I tell people, that are looking at doing a career pivot, and trying to figure out, okay, where do I pivot to? Okay, I want to pivot from what I've been doing. Well, then the question is, okay, what are you going to pivot to? And what I say is look at your innate skills and talents. Okay, where do things just come naturally to you? Okay, me, it's analytics. I mean, I can look at numbers and things just jump out at me. And the more data I can see, the better off I can see. So that's one of my strong suits. Okay. The other thing then is, where have you had your greatest accomplishments in your career? Okay. And then look at your skills assessments, whether that would be Clifton Strengths or other personality assessments, predictive index, Myers-Briggs, whatever, is where do all three of those intersect? That's where you're probably going to have your best chance of success. Careers that fall in that sweet spot where your talents overlap, your accomplishments which overlap your skill, your personality and occupational assessments. Okay. And so then you need to figure out what it's going to take, right? So once again, a career pivot will often require some trade-offs. It may be a hit to your ego and to your finances. You may have to be looking at starting over. So, if you're used to a director role, you might find that you're going to be a manager or a supervisor role. Well, you may see that once again, is that you're transitioning for some place where you've built up a salary history. You've been in this one career for 10, 15, 20 years. So you progressed, and now you're moving over to something where you don't have that experience and they're not willing to pay for that experience because you're doing something new. So it's looking at that, looking at the trade-offs. Once again, based upon research that I did when I was looking at doing a career pivot myself, is usually where you have the best chance of at least moving laterally, as opposed to taking a salary cut or a reduction in title, is if you can find something as a dual role where you're doing stuff that you've done your entire life, but there's also something that new that you're doing. So if you can find a dual type role like that, oftentimes that may be in a smaller company. Like myself, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies a good part of my career. But now I'm the chief operations officer of a smaller company. Okay. So I'm actually drawing upon all my experience throughout my career from the time I was an entry level clerical person all the way up to when I was a director and vice president at a national bank. So I'm drawing on all that experience here in my role as chief operations officer. So sometimes what you can do is that a smaller company may be willing to look at you uh, because of the experience you have in one area, and then you're also picking up other responsibilities because you have to wear more hats in a smaller company than you do in a Fortune 500. Okay. And another thing too is, if you can find somebody who can uh, vouch is not the right word, but someone who can be a mentor for you, maybe somebody who you've worked for in the past that's moved on, and they would be willing to hire you and give you a chance to learn new things, that can be a great way to do it. But the other thing too is make an action plan. So Stephen Covey, begin with end in mind. So create a project plan for yourself. What are your primary goals, and what is your ideal timeline? Okay, so think about that. Is realistically, okay, where do I want to go? What are the milestones along the way, and what is your timeline for that? And then once you've got your goal in place and your ideal timeline, is then break it down into milestones. What are the different things that you need to have in place to pull this career pivot off? And what skills do you need to acquire? Who are the people that you need to meet? What things do you need to, if you're currently employed, what things do you need to wrap up to make sure that you're leaving on good terms, because you're going to need that. You're going to need those people to vouch for you. And, what are the personal things that you may need to attend to make this career pivot successful? Because it is going to require a lot of time, and we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. And so then what are those milestones to get you there? And then once you've done that, is then give yourself the benefit, the self-worth of tracking that effort. So once you've got the plan in place, is take the time to track your success. Because if you do that, then on those days when you may feel like giving up, you can look at your plan and see, you know what? I have made progress. I'm not sitting at ground zero, having gone, I've been able, I am moving along. And I would say it's like this, and I use this analogy in my work a lot, but it can apply here for a career pivot. In my work here, I tell people, well, my company, it's been around for 45 years. It's not very nimble. It's more like a battleship. Okay. And so a battleship can't turn on a dime. It'll actually physically break in half if you try to turn a battleship too quickly. So what I do is, figuratively, I go to the back of the boat. And do I see a curve in the wake? Okay, if I see a curve in the wake, okay, we're making progress. Well, making a career pivot's like that. There's going to be days where you don't feel like you're going anywhere. So what you have to do is symbolically go to the back of the boat and see, is there a curve in the wake? Have I made progress? And then that can help, do away with some of the negative emotions and stuff that can come in play. The other thing you've got to do is you got to shift your brand. If everybody's known you as a product manager and you're going to do something different, then you're going to have to educate your network on what you're going to do. You're going to have to shift your brand so people will know not to be looking for jobs of product manager for you, but to be looking for jobs that titled XYZ. So you're going to have to shift your brand. And it's going to need to make sense to your target audience. So you're going to have to be able to communicate to them how you're going to do that. And then as part of that is using a term I use, is mobilize your posse. So you need to get people on board that they will believe you. And once again, especially the people that will have your back. Pick your most trusted contacts and enlist their help. One, to keep their eyes and ears open to opportunities that would be a good fit for the new role that you're seeking. And when you do, be specific, and don't make a career pivot, say, well, I'm looking at these 5 different jobs, these 5 different career fields. People can't remember 5 different career fields. They can remember one. Okay. So identify the one that's going to be one that you're going to enjoy doing, and that is the best fit for you. All right. Because then you need to enlist their help, and so that they can remember it, and so they then can communicate it to people that they come in contact with, as they will be your advocates for your career pivot. And then the 8th and final step is to network, to get in cahoots with the right people. And I will tell you, I'm not going to say it's impossible to do a career pivot and not network, but it's virtually impossible. Almost anybody who's pulled off a career pivot successfully has devoted a lot of time to networking, right? And we'll talk a little bit why here in a little bit. But it all goes back to, as I've talked a lot about, is about communication, being able to successfully convince people that you can do the new role that you're pursuing. And so this comes down to honing your career pivot story. This is going to be the most important part of your effort to make a career pivot. So the deal is that it's your story and it's about you. So your story is going to be the way you're going to sell yourself to your audience, whoever that might be. You're going to need to be able to communicate your motivation. Why are you wanting to do this? And then your logic behind it. People are going to need to understand and be able to connect the dots. Okay. So you need to be able to convincingly explain your motivation for making the change and then your logic behind it. And so this is going to be an integral part of your brand, particularly as you're starting to shift your brand. And so the way to do it is with your story is be able to connect the dots for people by looking backward. What you need to be able to convince people and share with them is how your past career, maybe even the past variations in your career have prepared you to be successful in this new role that you're pursuing. It's got to make sense to them. So you're going to have to be able to connect the dots for them. And that's where your career pivot story comes into play. So there are 4 steps to making your career pivot story. First off is you need to identify your audience. If you don't know who you're speaking to, it's going to be hard to convince them. Because I guarantee you, at least for me, I'm going to speak to a room of HR people totally different than I'm going to speak to a group of IT people. Okay. HR people, not now, this is maybe an over stereotype, but usually HR people tend to be more extroverted. Okay. IT people tend to be more introverted. Okay. As a general rule. Okay. Same way with finance and accounting. They tend to be more introverted. I hang around with them all the time. I'm on the board of FEI, Financial Executives International. And then we joke about that. But so your audience, you need to know your audience and know how to communicate to them. So if you don't know who your audience is and what they want, it's going to be hard to be successful in crafting your story and being able to communicate to them in a way that will capture their imagination. They go, you know what? I can see Clayton doing that. Okay. So step 2 is look back at your experiences. So take stock of your experiences, make a list of your major professional and personal milestones, and then brainstorm a list of 2 to 4 ways each experience has brought you closer to reaching your goal that your audience is also after. Okay. So look back and see, okay, what are those experiences that have followed me throughout my career? And then once again, develop 2 to 4 ways on how those experiences have prepared you to be a success in this new role that you're pursuing. The third step then is to identify your learning, how you've learned throughout your career and trends. So the highlights of your story are going to focus on decisions that you've made that have enabled you to learn new skills, maybe new industries, and what trends have followed you for a long time, right? And then you want to write down 2 to 4 of your biggest learning curves and 2 trends that have followed you throughout your career. And between your experiences and your learning habits and the trends that have followed you is that those are the basis of your career pivot story. And then what you do is then you captivate with words. You take those 2 to 4 items that you brainstorm about experiences, the 2 to 4 learning curves, and the 2 trends. You take all that and then you have the components for your story and you write down. You will create maybe 2 to 4 different stories using this in different ways that you can communicate to different audiences and things like that. So you start by writing down a story for each one of your career moves, and your choices that prove to be successful, that will help people then understand that, okay, he's been successful, he or she's been successful doing this. I can see them being successful in doing this next item, the role that you're pursuing. So this way you can come across authentically, and you can be confident because you're speaking of your own success and how that has proved itself out to you. Like one of the things, one of the stories that I used here in the hiring process I was going through in my current role is I was able to actually go back to a position very early in my career. I was only 27 years old. I was hired by a savings loan that had been taken over by the federal government. And I was given the task about a year in to merge the records operation of 10 savings loans together. Nobody had ever done that. And so here I am, a 27-year-old. I haven't had a computer class in my life. And I come about and I developed a computer system, built a building, and merged all this stuff together and was very successful at it and provided 25,000 boxes of records to federal grand juries for indictments, and then went on to be trials and put people in prison. But I was able to draw up on how I was able to do that, and then how that was going to relate to the work that I'm doing now at my employer. So coming up with these stories that really give people confidence that, yes, I can see Patty doing this, or I can see Jeff doing this, or I can see Steve doing this, because that's going to be, part of it. So let's talk about tools to make a successful career pivot. Okay. Well, first off, your resume is not one of them. In a career pivot, your resume is your enemy. Okay. And I really need to let that sink in, because I've coached a lot of people on career pivots, and I have so many people that they try to convince people that they can do a career pivot based on their resume. And basically what it is that no, their resume is all this experience in career X, and then at the very top, I'm seeking a position in career Y. Okay. The reason why your resume is not your friend when you're making a career pivot is, as I mentioned earlier at the very beginning of the presentation, is you're going to go up against people who have been doing what you want to do. They've been doing it for their entire life. When resumes compared to resume, you're not even in the ballpark. Okay. You will not match up on paper. Regardless how hard you try, you're not going to match up on paper. So, okay, well then how in the world do I go about pulling off a career pivot? Okay. Well, probably one of the best tools is informational interviewing. And I would say it's like networking on steroids, in that, and by that, what I mean, it's a highly focused form of networking, is that you're meeting with people to learn information, but hopefully in that brief meeting, usually about 30 minutes, is they get comfortable enough with you that they're willing to share their network with you and maybe refer you to 2 or 3 people that are in their network. And you keep doing that, and sooner or later there's a job in there. And the reason why you want to get in front of people, and the reason why networking is so crucial to making a career pivot, is you go from being 2-dimensional, a piece of paper, to being 3-dimensional, a person. And that makes all the difference in the world, right? Is when people see you and they can see how well you can communicate, how well you carry yourself, is oftentimes people are going to be willing, I'm not going to say most people, but a good number of people will be willing to give you a shot if you've done your homework and you're going to be able to share with them how how your experience has prepared you to be a success in this new role that you're pursuing. Okay, it makes all the difference in the world. So informational interviewing is probably the best tool. And I will tell you, for me, informational interviewing opened more doors for me than any other tool I used in job search. Okay, now it wasn't the tool that landed me the job I have now, although it did give me a lot of confidence, but it opened more doors for me and helped me build my network than any other tool that I tried. Another tool for making a career pivot is practice goodwill. Volunteer at a charity that will allow you to volunteer in the capacity for the role that you're pursuing, or do pro bono work, because experience is experience. It doesn't have to be paid. Okay, but find some way to be able to perform the role where you're wanting to pursue a long-term career. And then the next thing too is join groups, associations tied to your desired field or industry. Okay, there's an association for just about everything. Okay, and so join that. When I was in job search, I joined Financial Executives International. And to network and to learn about opportunities that might be a good fit for me. So, join groups. If you're a project manager, just be sure you're a member of PMI. If you're in HR, make sure you're part of SHRM or whatever networking group that's associated with your industry or career field. Because guess what? The people there, they are, in most cases, they're passionate about what they do and they know where the jobs are. Okay. So do that. And oftentimes you'll find somebody there that's willing, if once they get to know you, is they be willing to vouch for you and refer you, which can be very helpful. Now, as we are kind of starting to bring our presentation to a close, there are some common mistakes that you want to avoid if you're considering making a career pivot. First off is lack of preparation. Okay. And the first one is finances. As I said up front, oftentimes a career pivot is going to take longer than pursuing a position in your current, or your recent career. Okay. And oftentimes, so if you're not prepared financially, you may not be able to pull it off. You may end up having to go, I'm going to have to find a bridge job because I've got to get money coming in somehow. Okay. So that's one big mistake people make is not preparing financially. The other is not putting in the effort to find out really what do I want to do. Oftentimes what I've seen is that people trying to make a career pivot is they cannot make a decision on what they really want to pursue. And so what happens is that, that gets stuck in what I call the revolving door, and so I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And they never settle on what they want to become. And that really causes your network to get confused because they don't know what you want to do. And so that's one mistake you don't want to make. The other is lack of patience. As I mentioned, oftentimes it takes longer. And so that can be a mistake. It's lack of poise. And then basically, it's like you give up at the 5-yard line. You just got 5 more yards to go, but you give up with 5 yards to go. Okay. And so you need patience. And the other is lack of support. I would tell you, if you don't have the support of your family, of your network, don't pursue a career pivot. It's going to be almost impossible to pull off. Because once again, if they don't believe you can do it, how are you going to convince people who don't know you that you can do it? Okay. So that is another thing that you need. And then overall, a common mistake is lack of effort. It will take more. You're not going to pull off a career pivot sitting in your underwear 40 hours a week applying for jobs online. Okay. And trust me, I know that happens. Okay. It's going to take you getting out there and meeting with people. That's how you're going to be successful at a career pivot. It's going to take you going from being two-dimensional to being three-dimensional, people getting to know you, beginning to be able to trust you, and then being able to willing to give you a shot. Okay, that's what it's going to take. So it will take effort, and you may have to get out of your comfort zone. I am a poster child for introversion. I may not be coming across that way, but I could blend so fast into that wall behind me, even with this red shirt on, that you wouldn't see me. Okay, but I learned to adapt. For me, what the fulcrum for me was a tailored resume, a targeted resume. I hate rework. I'm just wired. I hate rework. And for me, having to redo my resume for every job that I applied for, you might as well be putting bamboo shoots underneath my fingernails. And so I figured, man, networking's got to be better than this. So even though I was an introvert, I began to network, and I found out that it was a whole lot more successful than applying for jobs online. And so I encourage you, even if you're not pursuing a career pivot, is get out and meet people. That's where the action happens. Okay. So one key piece of advice is, if you're pursuing a career pivot, is don't beat yourself up. If it goes longer than you think, it says progress is slower than you like, is that what you're trying to do is harder than it sounds, but it definitely is not impossible. It does, but it will take more effort, and in most cases, it will take more time. Now, there are some books, if you're considering a career pivot, if you have the time to be able to read, there are 5 books that are recommended to help you pull off a career pivot. One is Reinventing You by Dorie Clark. Dorie Clark is a regular contributor to the Harvard Business Review. She has good content. Quitter by John Acuff. Necessary Endings by Henry Cloud. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. It's not a get-rich scheme book. And then, of course, almost all of us know about John Maxwell, but his book, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. All 5 of these books would be good reads. So if you say, well, I don't have time to read all 5, well, start with John Maxwell's book and maybe Dorie Clark's book. And I think those would be very good reads for you. Now, once again, as I talked about at the beginning, I'm a learner by nature. And so for me, before I do anything, I like to learn about it. I don't like to jump into doing, like as I tell people, I like to make sure there's water in the pool before I jump. And so I wanted, before I tried to do a career pivot myself, I wanted to research and understand it before I did it. And so here, these are, if it comes up here. There we go. So there we go. Yeah, so those are the sources that I used to put this presentation together when I was originally looking at doing a career pivot when I was in job search. And there is and I shared this with Patty as well, but there is a career reflection worksheet, and I will try to click it and then share my screen so that you'll see it.
I've also attached it in the chat.
Okay, great. But and this can go for any job that you're, not just people that are making a career pivot, but these are some good questions to ask yourself. What kind of a boss do you want? Okay, regardless if you're making a career pivot or not. Okay, what kind of a boss do you want? Another would be is, how do you like to be rewarded? Okay, what makes you feel valued and why? All right. Then another questions to ask yourself is, what kind of environment, do you like rules and structure, or do you like to fly by the seat of your pants? Okay. that shooting from the hip is the environment you like to be part of. And, you know, do you like a team structure or do you like working more on your own? Once again, these are good questions to ask yourself. And the emotional environment, what is your ideal emotional environment? And, you know, variety, do you like doing the same thing every day? Or you prefer doing something coming in and you not even know what your day is going to look like? That's almost like by now you have a fairly decent, but I always get surprised. No. And then, you know, do you like a steady pace, or some days you don't mind your hair's on fire, or whatever. So it's understanding, you know, if you understand this is going to help you in your career pivot, but could help you in your just job search in general, just understanding what you want out of your next job in the way of bosses, environment, activity, that type of thing. With that, I'll open it up for any questions that anybody has.
Great. Thank you so much, Clayton. I think that was very informative and helpful for all of us who are considering making a career pivot as we go through our job search. So let me see. I don't think I see any questions in the chat at this time, but if you have a question, you can get off of the, yes, Miguel.
Yes. Hi, Clayton. Thank you for the presentation. Very, very useful. I'm a finance guy, and I went to the FEI meeting in Fort Worth this last time. So I'm hoping to see you at some point there. I just joined.
I will be there. I will be there this coming Tuesday.
Okay, great. I guess one of the things that from my perspective, I know I want to continue doing. I've been always a kind of like an FP&A head for large divisions at Fortune 100 companies, and I think that's where I add value, and I like it, and I enjoy it. Although this last presentation or this career reflection worksheet is a very useful one, and I'll go over it. But I think what you know, one thing that you mentioned is it's an interesting one for me. It's not like I'm seeking to pivot to a smaller or medium-sized company, but that's the one thing that, you know, I think your informational interviews was maybe one tool that you say that you used when you moved from your Fortune 500 company experience to move to smaller or medium-sized companies. Is that the main way of doing it? I mean, I know that you have to, you said to tie your background, your experience, tie the dots to make sure that there's some experience that you can highlight, that you can essentially do the job, and they don't think that you are just you know, you like large teams and you're not a hands-on person. What would you do if that was the case? How do you convince people that you can actually go work in a smaller company? Because like you said, it is not as you know, as deep, you know, the work that you do, but you have a lot more of a broad.
Yeah, it's more broad. Yeah. The breadth is the breadth, but not the depth.
Exactly.
Well, what I would tell you, at least in my experience, is that a lot of cases, smaller companies, they're looking for people coming out of large companies because you have that structure. Okay, you have that regimen that oftentimes smaller companies, particularly as they grow, they can falter because they've always done it the way they've always done it. And all of a sudden they're now growing and their processes are now breaking. And so like in the case of my company is they needed somebody that had the experience I had. So there was two mindsets. One, I didn't come in with a mindset is that's not my job. Okay. So that's one thing going to a smaller company. You can't have that approach. I mean, I do everything here. Okay. Up until this year, I was the one that did all the photography for our company calendar. You know, so I think in a smaller company, I think one, it's being willing to do whatever's needed. So if you have that kind of a mindset, you know, you don't have, and I wouldn't say you don't have necessarily, you don't have a huge ego. But I think it's the willingness to do other things, because once again, a lot of times, like what I've experienced and then now that I'm in smaller companies and I'm relating to other, is they are looking for the experience that people working in large companies have, because you know you're aware of how, you know, procedures and things like that that sometimes these smaller companies, they've not had any exposure to, and they don't know how to go about doing it. And you're bringing that level of structure and experience, that basically you're bringing that Fortune 500 experience and you're plopping in the lap of these smaller companies. And now there's some cases they may rebel against it, but in a lot of cases they'll eat it up, because you're bringing that experience that they would have to pay buku bucks for. You know, they'd have to hire a consultant that would, you know, that they can't, no way they can afford. And you're bringing that to them. So you know, what I've seen is that smaller companies too, they're usually willing, they can oftentimes be more willing to take risks, so to speak, than say your bigger companies will. Now, I'm not saying you know don't pursue larger companies, but I've just seen that smaller companies, they tend to be more flexible when it comes to, you know, your the breadth of your position, to even what they negotiate with you on your job. Like the small, you know, company I have, when I negotiated my position, my job offer, well, I got all the weeks of vacation I wanted. They gave me, they told me, okay, yeah, you can take every Monday off with pay and facilitate Fort Worth Christians Network. They even would allow me to take off Thursday mornings and go to South Lake Focus Group, which I don't do because well, I got to work sometime. But they signed off on a lot of things because one, they saw value company. Well, that's a way that Clayton can be out there and marketing our company to audiences that we would never ever get the chance to do. You know, so there's things like that that I have found for myself, is that oftentimes, you know, our large companies, it's cookie cutter. We can't do this, you know, we can only do this. And smaller companies tend to be a little more flexible on those kind of things. And to where basically you can kind of somewhat write your own ticket, so to speak, as far as really where you want to focus your job, you know, and where you can provide value. Does that make sense, Miguel?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. I do think that still the company needs to have take the risk of getting someone that has not been doing so many things. Like I've been doing mostly FP&A, and you know, like you know, the treasury or the accounting, like owning it is something that you work on, but you don't really own it when you're in a large company. And I think that's the part that you have to convince them that you're willing, like you said, to do other things and learn it.
Well, you know, I think for you, it would be, particularly if you're wanting to decide that you're going to look for a smaller, medium-sized company, is what I think there would be is look for a company that's really looking for that F&A expertise. Because that was one thing, because I was never in finance and accounting. I was always on the operations side of the house, but I have a degree in finance and management. Okay. And so I on the operations of the house, I dealt with P&A. I was the one that did the budgets and analysis and all that kind of stuff. So that was one thing that the company I have now worked for needed, although they didn't know it. But once I got here and I started applying my F&A expertise, it was like, wow, you know. So that there are, that's what I look at. Look for companies that maybe realize, man, we need metrics. You know, you know, until I walked in the door, this company who had been around for almost 40 years, they had never had a budget, period, ever. You know, they just, if we got money in the bank, we got money in the bank. If we don't, we don't. You know, so which was not how I grew up. You know, so you know, there's things like that kind of skill that you can bring into a small to medium-sized company that they don't have and that they would appreciate. And by the way, I do recommend you be at Fort Worth on Tuesday, because we have Jim Ashworth. I don't know if you've met him.
Oh, yes.
But he's a great recruiter when it comes to finance and accounting. He's going to share some good stuff Tuesday.
Okay, great. Thank you so much again for the presentation.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Miguel. Peter, did you have a question?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Patty. But I'll
Okay,
have the opportunity to say thanks to Clayton. Much appreciated, sir.
great. Any other questions from anybody? Didn't see anything else in the chat. But everybody was saying it was very informative, Clayton. I think you gave us a lot of food for thought of what we really need to do when we want to consider making that career pivot. And all of these other great tools that you gave us, the Excel spreadsheet, the Word documents, I think these are all excellent tools for everybody to utilize once they move forward, right? And take a good look at it. And even if you're not looking to make a career pivot, I would highly suggest that people go through this worksheet, know yourself, right? Look at other adjacencies that you could potentially do that you haven't thought of. So I think these are all really great points that are brought up. So, all right. So I just have a few other slides to share and then we can close out the meeting. So I will share my screen.
I'll stop. Yeah, I'll stop share here.
All right. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. All right. So just to remind everybody, with careerusa.org, where you can go on here and you can find more information regarding the tip of the week that Rosina shared earlier with us. So definitely check out careerdfw.org and look at all the different resources that you have on there. Also, you'll want to look at the calendar and select the everything calendar so that you can see everything. And this is like a visual for it. Now, this doesn't come out very well on the iPhone or your mobile phone. But what you can do is there's another way that you can view it. It gives you two options where you can look at a list view of the workshops as opposed to a calendar view. So this is what you would see if you do that list view. So I highly suggest you look at that as well. Make sure you attend different ones that are relevant for you. And also wanted to let you know that on the Career USA YouTube page, we have the playlist and you can click on that and there you can find the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, all the different videos that have been recorded in the past, as well as LinkedIn Tuesdays and other sessions that we've had as well. So check out the Career USA YouTube page. And here is just a sample list of what you would see for the North Dallas Plano group once you click into the playlist. And then, of course, on Tuesday, I'm currently the guest host for LinkedIn Tuesdays, and we will have Kurt Vandemotter on, who will discuss LinkedIn from a recruiter's eyes. And with that, what he'll do is he'll go into his LinkedIn recruiter platform that he uses and look at candidates. And he will let us know what makes him want to call a candidate versus, well, what he does or if he's going to skip through contacting a candidate. So you don't want to miss that. So that'll be next Tuesday at 1 o'clock Central. And that's Kurt's. And then on Wednesday, we have the practice interview team. You can schedule your free mock interview at dallaspitcrew.com. Hopefully you can attend on that. And again, it's the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month. That's in person only. The fourth Wednesday of the month, it is via Zoom that you could attend. And then upcoming sessions next Friday, we have Identify, Research, and Network into Target Companies with Mike Ray and Pete Hernandez. So they will be with us next Friday. And on Friday, November 1st is an open forum. If you have job search questions, we have answers for you. So hopefully you can join us for those upcoming sessions. As I mentioned before, there's no scheduled lunch today. So thank you very much for joining us today and see you next week.
Hi, Patty. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you mentioned on the Career DFW site to search for all or something. So you don't.
It's everything on the calendar.
Okay, so I'm on the calendar now and I'm not seeing everything or like not everything. Where, how would you find that?
Ah, okay. Let me see if I can go to my screen again and I can share it with you.
Or maybe I'm in the webinars, teleseminars, radio and TV shows. So maybe I'm not.
Yeah, you're in that one. You're not in the full one to see everything. So you can just remove that off of there. And then you can
Oh.
just click on everything.
Okay, great. I see it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because sometimes some meetings aren't showing up in different places. So definitely look at everything on the calendar and then you'll see everything. So
Great. Thank you.
so with that, I'm going to stop the recording and I will